Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining today's Friday webinar. Hopefully, it's sunny where you are. For those that haven't met me, I'm Dan. I'm one of the directors here at LandApp, and I'm just going to spend just under an hour today talking through some of my favorite time-saving hacks that you can use on the LandApp. As per usual, this is a webinar, which means your camera will remain off and your microphone will be muted throughout. But that doesn't mean we don't want to hear from you. We have enabled the Q&A function on the Zoom, which should be at the bottom of your screen. So please ask any questions throughout. We've also enabled the upvoting process. So if there's a question that you particularly want answering, please do upvote it, and we'll hopefully get to that. We've got 15 minutes at the end to cover those. As per usual, if there's a bit of time at the end and the webinar's over, happy to stay around and answer any questions, and people can come off mute and we can have a bit of a discussion. The session is being recorded, so it will be uploaded to our YouTube channel, probably by Monday or Tuesday next week. And everyone that's registered, so everyone here will also receive a copy of that recording via email. As always, we have just set some survey questions at the end of the webinar. So once you leave, whether that's right at the end or throughout, please do take 30 seconds to answer those questions, because it just helps feedback on these webinar series, but also feeds into a bit of product, etc. as well. So the agenda for today is I'm just going to do quick updates as usual from LandApp, and a bit of a welcome, which we're covering now. And one thing we would like to ask now is if there's any particular functions that you do use the LandApp for. Appreciate not everyone on the call is already using LandApp, but if there are any particular functions that do save you time that you would like me to talk about or demonstrate, please do use the chat. We'd love to encourage you to do a bit of peer-to-peer learning and sharing through this webinar as well. But the 6 key functions that I'm going to cover, I've got a couple of other ones as well, that I'll be demoing for about half an hour, is importing data. So different ways that you can import and upload data onto your map. How you can run data layer reports. So we host a lot of data from third-party providers in the LandApp, and I just want to show you how you can quickly run a report based on any boundary. I'm going to show you some bulk functions. So when I say bulk functions, that's how you can do lots of things at the same time. So rather than manually changing one thing at a time, there's quite a few different bulk functions that you can do. And within that, we've actually recently released some keyboard shortcuts, which I would be demonstrating as well. So for those that are slightly on more the advanced end of things, quickly undo, redo, delete features can now be done using your keyboard rather than your mouse. I'm going to then show you some print templates. What I mean by print templates is the ability to save what happens around the outside of your print, like your legend, your logo. So when you're printing multiple times, you don't have to constantly format your print. You can actually return back to one that you've created previously. I'm then going to show you what I still think is quite a hidden function, which is our photo downloader. We've built the capabilities and released some more functions around how we host photos, but also how you can download either all of your photos or a subset of your photos, with a particular focus on how you're evidencing existing schemes. So whether that's SFI and stewardship, or your biodiversity net gain schemes as well. I'm then going to touch on the toolbox. We've previously done quite a few webinars on the different toolboxes around England woodland creation, around biodiversity net gain, but I'm just going to touch and highlight on those just so you can see them in action. But of course, we've got a library of help guidance and our YouTube channel if you want to learn more about any of those. And then final point of the agenda is our Q&A function. So we'll have 15 minutes to talk through both people's favorite functions, but also answer any questions you may have generally about LandApp and what we're doing. As a note, 2 of those 4 functions are requiring a subscription. So not everything I show today is part of the free product, but I'll make it clear through the demo when they are free and when they are a paid for function within our subscription tiers. As a note, as I've mentioned, we've got a YouTube channel. If you just search LandApp on YouTube, it will come up with our page, and we host a huge number of things in there. Some recent webinars we did, I'd recommend if you've got a bit of time to listen in, if it's relevant to you and you're in England. We had a nice discussion with a panel around countryside stewardship, where DEFRA was represented, a farmer with Jake Fines was represented, and a facilitator with Charlie Ennell. We've also got other popular webinars from the back catalogue that you can look at, and we've listed some of them on your screen now. So just very quickly, we did a product release at the end of March, and we've actually done a release yesterday as well. We haven't shouted about it yet. And these are just some of the key releases that we've done. I mentioned the keyboard shortcuts, so I will be demonstrating some of those, just making it slightly easier for you to quickly map using your keyboard as you would when you're typing a document on Word, for example, undo, redo, escape, delete, etc. We've also released some new data layers. And so this hasn't been advertised yet. You're the first people to know, but eagle-eyed viewers would have noticed in the Land app now, you can access a couple of other popular requested data. National character areas for England are live. The less favoured areas and the moorland lines is now live from the Rural Payments Agency. The new England Woodland Creation sensitivity maps are live, so you can see areas of low sensitivity and the full sensitivity map. And that's particularly in relation to the new fast track scheme that they've released. For anyone going down UCO will hopefully be familiar with that. And we've also updated and released the new registered common land data layer as well. I talked about this last webinar, but we've also released some new tools, which I'll be demonstrating one of those today. But yeah, we've got Countryside Stewardship Validator, which just quickly identifies any potential errors in your stewardship plan, as well as a new slope data set, which you can access within the standard or professional subscriptions that allow you to see where there might be steeper slopes on your farm or your holding boundary. You can learn more about all of these releases on our website. We've got a product updates page. You just go into the community section of the website, and there's a product update section there where you can read a full release note from our product lead, Jack. Okay, so I'm going to do a bit of a live demo now. This isn't a training session, however. I just want to make it clear that at times I might be going quickly. I'm more doing a bit of a showcase of the functions themselves. So if there's anything you need me to repeat or slow down on, please let us know. But as mentioned, there are lots of help and guidance for you to get to that point. I really want you just to go away from this webinar knowing what's possible with Land app rather than knowing exactly how to do it all. So for those that are new, just very quickly, we are a web-based mapping platform. So we're found at thelandapp.com. You can come view our website, read all about what we're working on, case studies, etc. And then that product update part that I just mentioned is found within the community drop-down of product update. I'm assuming for this demo that you've already got an account, but if not, hopefully it's fairly self-explanatory to hit the sign up button and create an account for free. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a new map, and I'm just going to demo some time-saving hacks for you. Just some of the key functions that we've been building behind the scenes, and some of them that are perhaps a bit hidden from use. And the first one I want to just quickly show you is importing data. There's a number of different ways you can import data on the Land app, and I'm just going to show you the three main ones now. The first one you can do is you can import data from existing databases. And the two main databases that we connect to are the land registry data. So for England, Scotland, and Wales, we host all of the parcels that make up the land registry. And you can access those by going into the new button, hitting import data, and then choosing the first of this stepper, which is import from land registry. By clicking on that, what will load is these little thumbnails telling you whether you need to zoom in to see the data. So in this instance, it says zoom in to see the land registry data. Once I zoom into a certain level, those land registry parcels then appear for my area of interest. One of the time-saving hacks that I'd like to flag in this process is that there's this tool that is automatically showing, which is select all parcels within the title number. By default, it's always switched on. And you may not be aware, but this saves you a bit of time, because what this does is when you click on one polygon, like here, it selects all the other features within that title number that have got the same land registry title. And so rather than you having to manually, and let's just demonstrate the other way around, rather than you have to manually click on the polygons that are relevant to that ownership, by having that toggled on, it acts as a single join for that one title number. So you don't then have to work out which of the polygons belong to this particular owner. By then hitting next, you're then asked to drop the data onto a particular template. Again, another time-saving process that I won't dive into too much. Each of these templates hopefully speed up the time it takes for you to map this specific thing. And the reason for that is we host a full list of all of the required codes for each of these schemes to make sure that you're quickly and efficiently mapping that particular scheme. For my demo, I'm just going to bring it into the ownership boundary and just pretend hypothetically that this is my ownership area for all the land registry parcels. And so what that's done is that is now brought down for me all of the different features that make up this one title number. And by the way, I don't know this landowner, so if you are coincidentally on the call, it was just luck rather than anything else. So I've now got all the parcels that make up this one ownership area. You can see they're all joined by the same title number, 0344. The next thing that I can do very quickly is I can color all of these in, and this is the first of a bulk action that I want to quickly show. So rather than me trying to style or color all of these polygons in manually, what I can do is I can select all of the polygons in this title and then add a styling to them to make them consistent and to obviously do it at once. And the way that I do that is I can right click on just any one of my features, choose select feature type, and that highlights all of the different polygons on my plan. What this now allows me to do is I can bulk assign the use. So in this case, I hit assign use and all I can see is ownership boundary, which perhaps isn't as exciting as if I were using a countryside stewardship template or the Habitat UK Hab template, but you can at least bulk assign all of the polygons to one thing. I can also bulk assign a style by hitting the style button on the right-hand side, where I can change the opacity of the fill, give it a color, and change the pattern all at once. So I can make it as bespoke as I like with different shapes, patterns, etc. And I thirdly can change the border width as well. So I can maybe make the border slightly wider and change the lines to a dash and make them maybe a nice thick black line. And so now what I've done is I've taken those polygons and I've been able to make it quite bespoke. As a note, that bulk action also works for labeling. So if I right click and select all, I can also bulk add areas, for example. So I get an area for all those different blocks and a title number. So you can see I've very quickly now, I've got a map for one title number, the exact extent of that holding. The second time-saving hack I want to show you is just how I can now use this boundary to understand a bit more context using our data layer library. So for those not familiar with the data layers, on the right-hand side, you can access a full library of data that we are constantly updating. So actually, just while we're here, just to show you, for example, the left favored moorland line that's been loaded by Natural England, so from the RPA, as well as those national character areas that are live as well. So while we're here, I know there's a couple of people on the call that are going to be excited to hear about national character areas of England. You can see that we've now got those boundaries loaded in as well. All of those shapes, just as a note, can be copied onto your plan. So you can right click and copy them and take the shape of either the less favored areas or the national character areas and style them how you wish in a new plan. What I'm wanting to show, however, for the time-saving hack is this isn't potentially a new client of mine or someone we're working with, and I want to know a bit more about this farm. I want to know what's its opportunities in relation to flooding, what designations does it sit in? Is it in a green belt? Is it in a national park, etc., etc. So there's lots of different things I may want to know about this particular holding. However, to do that manually, it can take quite a lot of time. You can see me turning on and off these layers, not only makes the map quite messy, but it also is quite hard to quantify what does that mean in terms of my farm boundary. What I'm going to do is reset that and show you our data layer report. And so the data layer report is only available to subscribers. So you need to be on a standard or professional subscription for this. But within this reports button at the top middle of your screen, you have two different tabs within that report area. The one I want to demonstrate is this data layers report, where you can hit create report, choose your reference area, which in this case is my land registry parcels, and choose from one of many categories for what data you want to know whether this farm does or does not intersect it. So just for demonstration, I'm going to just choose a couple of these, like what designation is it in? Is it in a flood zone? What water type category does it intersect? By hitting next, so I'm now, just quickly show you, I'm now asking the land app, of these 45 data layers that I've chosen, which of them does my estate or my client's estate intersect and which ones does it not? By hitting next, I can then give it a name, demo report, and hit done. And so what's technically happening behind the scenes now is the land app is taking all those land registry parcels from my plan, and it's running it through our data library and asking the question, does that data layer fall within my boundary, yes or no? And it takes about 20 seconds to run. And so the use cases for this might be you're doing an environmental impact assessment, or you're building up an agri-environment scheme for the client, and you need to know what does it intersect and what does it not. And so hopefully when this report is generated, for 70%, I'll be able to very quickly now, out of those 45 layers, know which of them are relevant to me. So for example, I've got 7,400 meters of public rights of way. I'm in Shropshire Local Planning Authority. I'm in the National Character Area 66, et cetera, et cetera. And so you get a very quick breakdown of which data layers this farm does include, or this estate does include, which includes all those different categories that we've discussed. The structure of this data, just to explain, it shows you not only the count, so that's how many unique features of the data layer does it intersect. So in public rights of way, that's 16 different fragments of public right of way. But it also then tells you a percentage area, if it's an area feature of your farm that is in that area. So for example, it's 100% in the Shropshire County, 100% in the Shropshire Local Planning Authority, but only 54% of it is in the, actually we need to update those. Kathy, a note, this should say high, medium or low. We've just released that. But which category of the sensitivity map does my farm fall within? And for example, for nitrate vulnerable zones, I know that it's 95% in a surface water NBZ, but 100% in a groundwater NBZ. This report also shows you where there's no results. So back to that environmental impact assessment, for example, I now know quite quickly which designations this farm does not intersect. So it doesn't have any scheduled monuments, it's not in a national park, and it's not in an LFA. This report then, just for the final time-saving tip, can be downloaded to Excel by clicking this little download button, and you then get downloaded onto your computer a spreadsheet version of this that you can either share with a client or run some numbers against. As a note, when you leave this page and come back to that page, your report will always stay. So if you create a new report, you have two reports on this page rather than just it overriding, and we log that so you can keep that as a cached bit of information. So that's kind of using land registry with a couple of time-saving hacks. Just the other import functions, just to make you aware of, particularly if you're new to the land app. If you're in England and you're a farmer or an estate owner, you will hopefully be aware that there's something called a single business identifier number for each of your holdings. And this single business identifier number allows you to download from the Rural Payments Agency field parcel data. And so that field parcel data can be accessed with field IDs through the land app to save you having to go and get it from the Rural Payments Agency direct. And so just to quickly demonstrate that workflow, I'm going to import from Rural Payments Agency, type in my 9-digit SBI number and choose which data set I want, which just for the demo, I'll do land covers, which shows the extent of the different land uses within my farm and hedges. Hitting next, again, you're asked to choose a template. Just to demonstrate, I'll choose the basic payment scheme, which we are slowly going to rebrand to land cover as the basic payment scheme is moving on. But what this does is this just sends a live request to the Rural Payments Agency and downloads the up-to-date rural land registry data for your farm. And so just as a note, with the, I think in the last week, we did detect a bug. And I think the Rural Payments Agency has fixed it. We had a couple of people get in touch at how quickly is it to update. From our perspective, as soon as you've had an RLE1 form accepted, i.e. a land use change accepted by the Rural Payments Agency, it should be instantly available through the download. If you're having any issues with that, do contact the support team, but it should show any up-to-date changes to those parcels, whether the land use has changed or you've got a new ownership. But if that's not the case, we need some more case studies to prove to the RPA that it's not working. So thanks for getting in touch last week. But it's very much in the RPA's hand. And so that's my just import from Rural Payments Agency. And then the final way of importing data is you can import your own files. So if you've got your own habitat map or your own field boundary, you can just use this import file button and drag and drop the data onto this input here, or just click on the button and that will load up your file explorer. Just to get a bit technical for 10 seconds, so apologies if this goes over some people's head, is the only format we allow is GeoJSON, KML, which is the Google Earth format, shapefile, which is Esri, ArcGIS format, DXF, which is your CAD drawings, if you have any architects on the call, and the tab files as well. And so when you're uploading it, if it's not one of those formats, it won't work. The final thing to say is that when you're uploading data, if you want Landapp to automatically style the data for you, so say you've got a habitat data set and you want it to automatically style those UK HAB codes, please just ensure you've searched for our importing data, and there's a technical guide here called Importing Data into the Landapp. It's a bit technical, so please reach out if you need support, but you need to just make sure that the attributes are matching our structured data set. So the main one is if you've got a column in the data that's a stewardship code or a UK HAB code, it needs to be headed LA feature type. But let us know if you've got any questions around that. So that's the 3 ways you can import data. And obviously with the land registry, I took it a couple of steps further with the data layers report. Just to demonstrate that bulk function again. So now I've got a map here that shows obviously the different parcels that make up my land. If I want to bulk assign all of the grassland fields, I can use the exact same process I used before by right-clicking on one of the shapes, choosing select feature type, and that will highlight only those that have got the same code. So it's only highlighted the permanent grassland, which means I can make all of the grassland pink, for example. Okay. So once you've got a code assigned to a polygon, when you use the select feature type, it selects only those features of the same type. Quickly showing you one keyboard shortcut. So instead of clicking the undo button, I can on my keyboard hit Control Z, and that Control Z then does the undo for me. So rather than me having to click undo redo, I can use the keyboard Control Z, Control Y, and that just jumps between the two. Just to show you that, which is a function that I've wanted for a while. I've been using the tool for about 6 years, and it's good to see the keyboard shortcuts coming through. The other bulk function, just to quickly show you. So I was obviously just then selecting just the grass fields, and I use the right click on a feature and select feature type. Just to make you aware, you can select all of the features within your plan using the select all button within this plan details section. So hitting select all, you'll then ask, do you want to select everything, i.e. all of the features on your plan, or do you just specifically want to focus on just selecting, say, the feature areas, which are the fields themselves? When I hit done, what it's now selected, it's selected the woodlands as well and all the grassland. And so that function might be useful, for example, if you need to put an area label on or a code label on. But you can see there's quite a few features on my map, so that's got quite messy quite quickly. Control Z, Control Z. The next time-saving hack that I want to come on to, just going to check the time, 25 past, great, I think we're on time, is within that reports function, there is also the ability to generate a report on the plans that you've created. So earlier we looked at data layer reports, but I just want to quickly show you the plan report, which is now, I'm just wanting to understand from that basic payment plan I just made, what's the total hectarage of the different things on my map. So by running a BPS report, I get a very quick breakdown from the Rural Payments Agency of all the different features that my farm is made up of. So the total hectarage, and then the breakdown of non-agricultural features, grassland features, and any unassigned features as well. And that structure is exactly the same as the data layer report in terms of the number of features is the count, the area is hopefully self-explanatory, and the percentage of that feature that covers the total farm. One step above that is the table view, which you can access clicking the table view button here, which is a breakdown of all of the different features that make up, in this case, my basic payment plan. So I get a row by row understanding of my farm, and I can see what field ID has got what feature type. For our subscribers, you can also export that to Excel. So if you're on a standard or professional, you can also download this. Particularly useful if you're doing a countryside stewardship and you're getting ready for the application or any other process. And while I'm here, just a note, I don't think we really announced it, but recently we reinstated these totals. So we didn't used to have these, although when I first used the land app, I think they were there, but we've reinstated them back. So they're just summing up some of the columns within this, this summary. If you're doing a countryside stewardship, it will tell you the total value of the stewardship in that summary as well. And the same for UCO, your England Woodland Creation summary. Okay, so the next thing I want to show you is printing. And I'm going to just go back to my land registry parcel, zooming to extent. And I'm just going to create a map of this and just show you what I think is a really powerful function, which is the print template. While printing function is accessible by hitting the print button at the top of your screen. So let's just say I'm wanting to print this map to share with a client or a potential sales plan, for example. And then what I'm going to firstly do is create a new frame. By creating a new frame, I'm basically looking to purchase a license for 12 months for whatever area I choose for this map. You can change the orientation and the size of the print. So I could do, for example, an A3 portrait. And that then just allows me to adjust, centralize, move that map around. And you can change the width of the border as well. So the border is how much space you want to give to a logo, a title, versus how much space you want to give to the actual map itself. So I'm a fan of the narrow border, but people may have different ideas on that. When you go to customize your print, then this is where you're asked to basically say, what do you want what do you want the template to look like? And I'll show you the way that I can create a template in a moment, but I'm first just going to draft up my first version. So I'm just going to add some headers, my map, sales plan, for example, and give it a location. I'm going to add a footer created by Dan and add a footer like so. And I'm also going to add a legend as well. And so that legend, I can choose where I want it, say at the top left. And it might be quite small on your screen, but you can edit the ownership boundary. Farm name, for example, and you can also give it a title, my legend. Okay. So what I've done is I've given my legend a title. I've got the map all set up how I want, and I'm just going to add a logo just to show you. And I will choose one of my brand mark logos like so and pop that in here. So I've added my own logo to the top left as well. So that could be your own organization logo or anything else. And so I'm now happy with how this map looks, right? Before I hit print, however, or buy now, there's this little save icon. If I hit save, I can call this sales plan template like so and hit save. And when I come to print another map, which I'll show you in a moment, this legend would have saved, the logo would have saved, as would have all the titles, etc. So what's happening around the outside is now going to be consistent, regardless where in the country I print. I can now buy this print, so I do have to pay for this demo. I've got a £4.80 royalty to Ordnance Survey, which is just the extent of the base map, which I can hit buy now and give it a code and buy it. Time-saving hack 2 when you're printing is while this is printing, the print is preparing, you don't have to wait here. You can close this map, but behind the scenes, Land App is now processing that map for you, and I can go and print something else. So I'm just going to now, while that's printing in the background, I'm going to print this map as well, but I'm going to use the template that I've just saved. So print this map, create a new frame. So I'm got a new area of interest that I need to purchase, and again, I'm going to do a A3 portrait, get it looking roughly nice, hitting customize print. But instead of manually now doing all of this bits again, I'm just going to go to use template, and I want to find got quite a few in here. Right at the bottom, my sales plan template. And when I've clicked on that, you can see that my old legend has now been instated, my logo that I updated, and those titles that I created earlier have been updated. Now, obviously, I'm happy with the top, I'm happy with the bottom, but if I do want to edit the legend from here, I can then edit the legend by hitting Edit Legend Item, and I can change or restore the default and get my BPS legend back. So I've not had to then worry about uploading the logo again or the footer or whatever. I've just started from where I was. And again, I can then buy it now and print it myself. So I've had 2 prints that are whirring in the background. And now what I want to do is go and collect those prints and export them. So rather than waiting here, I visit my print section of my map. So it's accessed by hitting the little person icon at the top right and going into print. And what I see within here now is a list of all the prints that I've created. So this one is still rendering, but this one that I made just a moment ago, I can download as from this page in different formats. So for example, I can download the PDF of the print that I just created with the legend that I made in A4 that I can save to my computer. So that ability of you starting a print process, saving a template, and then doing a couple more, say if you're doing a couple of stewardships, means that you can get it all done in 5 minutes rather than having to wait for that print to finish. Okay, so I'm going to do a bit of a Blue Peter moment now. So hopefully I feel like I am jumping around a bit, but as I said, I was showcasing different tools rather than doing an end-to-end workflow during this process. I'd like to just quickly demonstrate 2 final things. One of them is just the photos and the photo functionality. And then secondly is just the toolbox for creating biodiversity units. And if there's time, a UCO plan as well. So the first thing to say is, you may or may not know, is we've got a mobile app. And the mobile app is available live. You can get it on App Store and on Android. And that mobile app is in version 1.2 at the moment, I think, which basically means it's not finished. Our development team are currently beavering away on quite a few exciting releases, which will be announced very soon. But one of the key things you can use the mobile app for at the moment is for taking photos. And so earlier today, my partner Lottie went out to just round by our house to go and take some photos of a meadow that I've been working on nearby using the Land app mobile. And so what she's done is she's taken 5 photos for me that sit within a general photo album on your map. So when you upload into the map, they sit within this photos section. So you can see the 5 photos here. So we've got a photo of some cowslips. I think there's a couple of photos of cowslips. And then there's also some photos of the wider grass as well. And so with these photos, what I can do is I can link this source of truth, these photos, to specific plans that are within my map. And so what I mean by that is you can go and take 100 photos of your farm, of your hedgerow, of your buildings, of your infrastructure, but some of those photos are only relevant to certain plans. So for example, as part of your evidencing for an agri-environment scheme, you might have taken a photo of the hedge before it was laid, during it getting laid, and then afterwards. And so what you can do is you can link specific photos to specific plans. So let me just choose a photo that's got no plans. So, and that's done at the bottom right, link plans, hit link or unlink, and I can link this particular photo of the cowslip to 1 or more different plans. So let's just say I'm linking it to my UK HAB map and my land management plan. By linking the photos, what that means is when you hide all of the album photos, but turn on a specific layer, you get the photos that are relevant to that plan. So you can see my land management plan has just got 1 photo linked to it, which is this cowslip layer. And we've got these ones where I've linked 4, with 1 of those photos being common between the 2, so it's the cowslip layer. Within that layer, you can also add a name. So, I mean, let's just, I don't know what I'm going to call it. Cowslip picture, like so, and show a map. And so I can basically start labeling those photos. The time-saving tip is when you're in the field, you can add those descriptions. So it can be FG2, etc. But one of the main bits of time that we were, I suppose, when I was doing advice with FWAG 3 or 4 years ago, was when you're doing your stewardship evidencing, you have to label the photos in a specific way for the Rural Payments Agency. We have now automated, we think, the entire process for you. So if you do need to share with the Rural Payments Agency a particular, particular feature, so say this is an FG2, and call it a fence, you can now export directly from Landapp all of the photos associated to a specific plan. So say I want to export these 4 photos, but we also label them for you following the function that the requirements of the RPA. And I just want to show you that for this best guess, although it could be a stewardship, it could be an SBI. When you go into the 3 dots and hit export, we've introduced this include linked photos. So rather than downloading all 5 photos, this one should download 4 photos for me and hit export. And that will export both the geospatial plan, i.e. my grassland polygons, and hopefully within it, if I click on this button and go in here and zip. Within here, I've now got a folder that contains the field IDs, which in this case is, I'm not an RPA, but the field IDs of each of those photos all labeled for me. And so I've now got a breakdown of the different photos that Lottie took, downloaded to my computer that I can share with the RPA with the correct IDs labeled to them. And so what we're trying to do is speed up the time for you going to take the photos in the field and download them to your computer. One thing that is coming in the future updates, and eagle-eyed viewers would have noticed, is that when you add a name to that photo, so earlier I called it fence, we're adding that as part of the label as well. So it should include field ID and either the name you've given it or the description you've given it as well, which will hopefully be able to save you time, particularly if you're audited by the RPA. Oh, could you send us all the photos? Get them added to your map, let them see where all the photos are taken, and they can export them using the downloader if they wish. Okay, in the last couple of minutes, I just want to quickly show you a final time-saving hack, and hopefully this has been useful. I can see there's quite a few questions and things coming through the chat, so looking forward to getting to those. I just want to make you aware of our new toolbox that we've released. And so we've released a toolbox that contains lots of different tools, depending on what you're using the Landapp for. And you can access it through the little toolbox section of the 3 dots of your plan. Depending on what your plan is, you'll see different toolboxes. So for example, if I open up the toolbox for my UK hab map, I get 2 bespoke tools based on that plan. I get a auto populator for the biodiversity statutory metric, which our professional users can access. So anyone unprofessional can get access to that. And what that does is that will just email you an official statutory metric that's been pre-populated by your Landapp map. So if you've done a baseline, you've done a land management plan, it will email you a statutory metric for your offsite units. And we've also got this estimate biodiversity net gain, which is just a way of you in-app getting the units that are being calculated from these 2 plans. So let me just run this one for you so you can see it in action. And ultimately what it's doing, it's just going to compare my baseline, which is a modified grassland, to my future, which is a lowland meadow. You do need to refresh your screen, and we're just working out ways that you don't need to refresh your screen. But what's going to happen behind the scenes when it takes a moment, is it's just going to tell me the number of biodiversity units that are created or generated from that change of baseline to future plan. I'm hoping, refresh. It's not here yet. It's probably a bit of a queue. Yeah, so behind the scenes, we've got a number of engines that are available to run these things. So if multiple people are doing it at the same time, it might take a bit of a moment. And that, by the way, within those tools, if you're on a countryside stewardship template, you'll be able to see the new stewardship validator that we've got. So please have a look at the guidance. And if you're creating a UCO plan, so using our woodland creation template, you have access to another suite of tools, such as a UCO checker, which you can access, but also a auto populator for the UCO application as well. I'm hoping, there we are, through. So you see, I've now been served 2 extra layers. I've got BNG baseline, and this tells me the baseline units associated to my little small patch of grass in Bristol. But also then I get another layer, which is showing me my uplift units. So for me moving, I get 0.37 biodiversity units from turning this little patch of grass from a modified grassland into a species-rich meadow over 30 years. But obviously, if you're doing a big estate, you can see that if you quickly map your baseline and you start drafting up land management plans, you'll be able to very quickly and readily get your uplift units as well. So anyone who's interested in the biodiversity net gain stuff, we did do a full hour deep dive. Obviously, I've covered that in 3 minutes. If you want to learn a bit more about how the land can be used for biodiversity net gain or for UCO, please do check our YouTube channel. Okay, I think that's covered everything that I wanted to cover. However, I'm going to quickly have a look at the chat and see what's coming through. So we've got a question from Vincent. How often should you refresh the basic RPA data on a map, and how do you do it quickly? Yeah, it's a really good question, Vincent. So I would always refresh your RPA data. Come onto this map. Where is it? Onto this one before you do an application. So with the stewardship validator, what we actually do behind the scenes is we refresh the RPA data for you. So if you've got your stewardship plan drawn, but you've made a slight change to the boundary, when you run the validator, we automatically refresh your RPA data for you. And we're looking to introduce that as a general tool. So at the moment, you do need to just manually download the SBI number, but I know our data engineers have built a tool that I think we're calling the RPA Repper, although Kathy on the call with marketing might have a better name for it. But that will ultimately, you type in your SBI number and it will just refresh the latest land parcel or land cover data to your existing plan, keeping all the attributes, so just making sure the field numbers are correct. And we should be announcing that in the next couple of weeks. But at the moment, you will need to just download manually the SBI number. But I wouldn't, basically, because I know this tool is being released soon, don't worry about doing that. And we'll be shouting about the RPA Reclipper once it's out. Question from Luke. Keyboard shortcuts are a great addition. Is there a quick reference list of where we can view a forestry user? And looking forward to seeing more templates and features added for us, such as woodland management plans. Yeah, Luke, great to have you on the call. I believe there is a breakdown of the keyboard shortcuts. These are the new shortcuts, which you can see here: snap to line, undo, redo, and delete. And I think on the help center, although might need to do some digging, there is another list of them. So if not, Kathy, we can make it as an action just somewhere close. But any more shortcuts that you'd like to see, let us know, because I use them quite a lot. And then woodland management templates, definitely. We're just, as a note, we're working on our mobile app behind the scenes around hedgerows, tree health surveys, and some soil data. And then we will be building some more woodland management type functionality into the land app. So yeah, Luke, we might be in touch about how you want that to look and feel. On the report table, can you please explain the difference between hedges and adjacent hedges? Yes, so this is, yeah, just very quickly in here, we just run a hedgerow plan. So basically it's RPA language. And basically each one of your hedgerows are either a half hedge, which basically means you're managing one side of that hedge, i.e. it's a road the other side, or you don't own the other side of the hedge, or it will also have an adjacent hedge, which means you're managing both sides of the hedge. So it's basically like, do you manage one side of the hedge, or do you have management control over both sides? Can we download all land parcels as an area as a table without having to create a plan and adding each parcel? Can we download all land parcels in an area table? I think I know what you mean, Anonymous, but tell me if I'm wrong. If you want to download all of the parcels that are within this farm, you can basically go straight to the table view and download all of the parcels in here. If you want a subset of the data, say you just want to download all of the areas that are within the south of this, you do need to make a new plan. So I think that's what you're saying. You're basically saying, tell me if I'm wrong, I think you're saying, if I want to know the total area of these parcels, can I download a report from just those selected? You can't at the moment. You do need to bring them over to a new plan, like so, and then, subset, like so. And then you can download just that plan that contains the subset of information, which will be the parcels of interest. But yeah, I think you're saying, can we select a certain area? Yeah, we can't at the moment. Joe Atkinson, can I add multiple SBIs for single maps? So far, I've been only able to add individual SBIs. A contract farmer, work over different SBIs. It'd be good if I could make a master map of different farms and different crop rotations. Yeah, so you can, Joe, do that. It's a bit manual. We don't at the moment have a single import, but let me just show you very quickly how to make a single plan. I think it is worthwhile. I'm just going to get another SBI number. Yeah, because as a contract farmer, I can imagine having all the different SBIs is one. Yeah, let me just download one more SBI number. Import data. Oh wait, that's the one I just used. Let me get another one. Sorry, bear with me, team. Land covers, basic payment. So I've now got two SBI numbers on the map. They're a bit disparate, but they're near each other. So they're both in the basic payment language. What you can do, Joe, is you can click select all, select everything from that one plan, right click on it, and then copy it to another plan and copy it to the land covers. And what that now means is my one land cover plan has got both my farm maps on. Bit selected, but you can see now I've got one plan that includes both farms on a single layer. But it's possible manually. You just have to use that bulk action that I spoke about earlier, which is select all. But we are working on ways to maybe improve that. When will you be able to change map owner, please? Yeah, it's a really good question. I will have to get back to you on that. I know it's been discussed, and what we mean by that is whoever creates the map, the current creator, owns the data and controls who gets added to the map. And a lot of times, say, an advisor creates a map on behalf of a farmer, and then the farmer wants to take ownership of that map. We are working on it behind the scene. It's quite a complex databasing thing, but I know the product team are talking about it. So I will bring up that someone's mentioned it again on this call because it's part of a bigger bit of work we're doing around becoming accredited with the British Farm Data Council. A question from Paul. I have an ecologist who's going to use LandApp to map our site and baseline survey. Are there ways I can copy and paste this onto my login so I can make changes that don't affect what they're doing, such as habitat enhancements and creation? Yeah, so Paul, what you're asking is, can you create a replica data set? So the two ways I would go about that. There's one that I would recommend is stay within the same map. So you can have a map that's called, my farm, but you can create a folder using this folder icon called Pools Edits, for example. And you create a folder, and then say this is actually, let me just create a habitat map from that. Habitats. What you can do is you can ask the ecologist to have one map that's called Habitats Master, like so, and that's my habitat map, and then create a duplicate of that and call it, I don't know, copy of habitats editable, something like that. And then just in pools edits folder, I would just put the pools edit stuff in there. And so you can have this separate place of a map that you can edit with confidence. Right? You can mess around with this. And then the master one can be locked by the ecologist. So the ecologist can lock the master one and you can then edit and play around with the other one on the same map. If you don't want to do it that way, or the ecologist is just adding you as a read only, you can also just download the data from that editable map or from the habitat map and move it onto another map of your own. So depending on how you want to do it, I'd recommend this way, having like a more collaborative way of doing it and just locking the master one, so you can at least see it in relation to the other plan. But definitely speak to your ecologist, and happy to give some tips if you need. Is LandApp working on getting unregistered land details? So I actually have a data set now of unregistered land. And I don't know how we get it into the land app, but I have got access to it. And basically what we've done, ownership, isn't it? Sorry. Yeah, basically what we've done is we've created a reverse data set of the land registry, which is ultimately just fleshing out all the white space. So for example, this is an unregistered bit of land, which we can turn into a polygon shape. So getting access to that isn't actually too difficult. It's a bit manual at the moment, but if it would be useful, we could potentially release it as another data layer, which is just called unregistered polygons, and it's just all the white space as shapes, which could be an interesting one. Yeah, I don't know whether that would help. It'd be good to know in the chat if that would make sense. Is it possible to bulk add different areas and lengths of a line? Bulk add areas and lengths of a line. Yeah, so one thing I haven't shown during this demo, I think I know your question, Anonymous. So when you're drawing a shape, so I'm just going to create a new plan for shapes. When you're creating a shape, such as a rectangle, I draw arbitrary and finish. On the right-hand side, you get this width and length. So I don't know, I can choose the height and width of that. And that premise works, by the way, now with lines. So we've just released that actually. Only if they've got 2 points. But you can't, oh, sorry. But now when you draw a line, I believe, is that going to work? No. Bear with me, why is that frozen? I think I'm doing too many things too quickly. Let's see if that works. Yeah, my shapes, hopefully that lets me select. Yeah, but now on the length of the line, you can change the length. It just extends the width of the length of one side. So the first point you draw will stay stationary, and then the second point will adapt. So you can do that for circles as well. I think what you're saying though is, can you bulk add different areas? So I don't know if what you mean is, can I take this shape and select multiple and then create multiple shapes? But you can duplicate this feature. So I can, if I want to, as I can use this duplicate function, and I would have 2 identically shaped lines. So you can see I'm duplicating, and I could do the same with the polygon if I wanted, which is selecting a particular feature and then duplicating it. So get one feature that's the right area or the right length, and then you can make multiple of them. Hopefully that helps. If not, let me know. So another question from Joe is, you mentioned about exporting to Excel. Is there a way to print the reports directly from LandApp rather than printing from Excel? The reports are set out much aesthetically on LandApp. It's a really good point. Yeah, Joe, so I think I know what you mean. So basically, what Joe's saying is the report, and I think you mean these type reports, Joe, the table view, can you print from this rather than taking to Excel? Yeah, I don't think you can. Yeah, Kathy, I think that's a note for Jack. So, this view, could you just download to PDF, basically? Rather than just export to Excel, could you just have a download PDF function? It's a good point, Joe. Thank you. And I will take that away because you can't at the moment. Does LandApp have planning information to search completing projects? Refused, granted. Yeah, Anonymous, this is a really good question, high up on our list. We don't at the moment, but we've got a demo we've got a demo data set that we are exploring getting in. The issue with planning data is it's locally held. So it's not held at the central government level, it's held by the local planning authority. And so we can either go and get that data manually ourselves and keep it up to date, or there are some commercial bodies out there that have built a business around selling aggregated versions of that. So it would probably cost, but we might consider getting it in for our professional users. I can't remember how much it is. It's, tens of thousands of pounds a year. So we need to just work out where that's coming from and how it works. But it is possible, because it'd be really useful to be able to turn on like a borehole layer, for example, but these being all planning applications, and you can click on a planning application saying whether that's, pending or is successful or has failed and why. Because then if you're going down that route, you can quickly see. So yeah, I think maybe what we need to do is just run a vote, how many people would use it, and see if it's worth getting it in. But yeah, I see the value in that. Can we both upload our own metadata to a layer? Can you do that? So what the question is for Anonymous is, you can in LandApps, they say I've got all these attributes. I can create a new attribute. So that new attribute could be, I don't know, soil carbon as a text point, and hit save new attribute. And now in this one polygon, I've got soil carbon that I can edit. I can add that as an attribute to all of them by using that select all process first. But I don't think I'm fully answering your question, because I think what you want to be able to do is say, for this template, I want these 5 attributes. which you can't do at the moment. So that's more of a flexible templating thing. So I'm going to say the answer to that question is no, it's something that's on the roadmap, but you can add your own attributes. And if you import your own data with additional attributes, those attributes will remain as well. So there are ways around it, but it's not quite the scalable way that I think you're hinting at. So quite a few more questions coming through. We can see if we can get through them all. Can we order items within a plan? Currently, the items appear as they're chronologically created. Yeah, it's a really good question. So in here, I've got 2 features, and let me actually just create another one in there, just so you can see. Finish. So now I've got a third, and let's call it fallow, whatever. Yeah, so you can't drag, I don't think. Ooh, you can't drag them, but I'm pretty sure the one lowest in the list is the one that's on top. If you go into this little more section and push backwards, does that work? I know. But it's reordered in there, but it's not reordered in this list. I thought that would have reordered the list. No, I'm going to take that away as a question. But no, you can change the order in which you see them, but the order in this list you can't by the looks of it, although technically that's happening. Thank you. Luke, is there somewhere to go where we can manage print templates, edit them, rename them, view all together? It gets a bit unmanageable in a long list, which is not searchable. Yeah, not at the moment, Luke. I think the template, you can, let me just double check. I like these sessions because it's a good way of me recalibrating with what's happening. So you can delete your print frames. So if you've made a print, if you don't want them in here, you can delete them. But in terms of the print templates, I think the answer to your question is no, Luke. At the moment, that functionality, if I go in here, yeah, I think it's just this long list at the moment. So that's a really good point. We will take it away. Thank you. Being able to edit these. I think what you can do actually, if I choose South Lodge and then I make some edits to them and I go save, it then asks me, do I want to save changes to the current print template? So I can actually override the name of the South Lodge one and call it new name. That's renamed the South Lodge one. So you could do it that way, bit hacky, but yeah, if you use a template and then you want to save it, you can basically say save changes to the current print template, which allows you to override the name. But I appreciate that you might want to delete them, which you can't do at the moment. Are the photos from the app geo-referenced? Yes, all the photos are geo-referenced when you take them on the mobile app. Is it possible to select multiple polygons and features by drawing a frame or creating a different? No, we don't have that function at the moment. So the question is basically asking, can I select somehow all of these features by, I don't know, going like this? That would be good for that to zooms in at the moment. So yeah, that's not possible yet. But I think on the keyboard shortcuts, that's being suggested. That's holding shift, by the way, and then clicking and dragging for a zoom. But yeah, it'd be good if I could do the same, but select. I don't think we can, although these are the types of things that may happen. No, we can't at the moment, I'm afraid. James Siggs, oh yeah, but download parcels for commons. Yep, so the common land, if you type in common, we've got CROW, section 4 and RPA registered. And so you can, let me just turn off 4 holes, get them out of the way. So yeah, all of those polygons, the different shapes and different times, I guess, but you can download them. Before you can download them though, you do need to copy them to a plan. So I need to select by holding shift on my keyboard, which blocks I want, copy it to a plan, common, for example, and now I've got the shapes that I can download, export to JSON, etc. Could there be a potential copyright issues with photos? So unsure, Donald, whether you're referring, so the photos taken are photos that you own. So it's called external content. So when you upload them into the Land app, you're basically uploading photos that you own and they'll retain the IP for. So in terms of copyright, I'm unsure. I guess just making sure that the photos you upload, you do have rights to, but I don't know if I've missed anything there. Yeah, do let me know if I've missed anything in the chat. Question. So actually the time is, so we've got 3. Oh no, we've actually got quite a few more questions. So I'm happy to stay on for another 2 minutes. I know Kathy, you need to shoot, but I will stay on for another 2 minutes. If people need to shoot now, please do. Thank you so much for staying. It's great to see that most of you retained throughout the call. Do fill in that survey when you leave, but I'm just going to try and get through the last 4 questions in the last couple of minutes. But yeah, feel free to shoot if you want. Question from Elizabeth. A soil SFI management plan template would be really useful to grab the soil layer type and slope info. Yeah, so Elizabeth, that's actually being developed. We're partnering up with a couple of organizations, announcement to be made soon, and we will be releasing a soil management plan template. George Gillett, sorry. Will there be a function to edit hedgerow length on the right-hand side text box rather than have to adjust the line manually? If the hedgerow has just got 2 points, it should be editable, but most hedges are quite complex. So the answer to your question, George, is no. At the moment, you will have to manually drag the points of the hedgerow rather than typing in the number. And we've explored it, but mathematically, it's quite hard because when there's complex edge. Yeah, so I understood the question, but can't quite say I can help. How are the slope maps charged? So James, the slope maps are available in download data for anyone that's on a standard or professional subscription. So they're free to use. You can do unlimited downloads. If you're on standard or professional subscription, just be aware that there is an upper limit on the size of data. So you can't ask for the whole county, for example. I think it's a 3,000 hectares maximum, sorry. But yeah, it's free at the point of use for our subscribers. Okay, so you mentioned slope. So a question from Joe. Yeah, there's a couple of questions on the slope. So just to quickly show you the slope layer then, if I wanted to run the slopes for my common land that I've got here, I could go new, download data, slope identifier, and choose my plan, common land, and call this common. Oh, common. And that will run. And what that's doing in the background is it is taking the LiDAR data, but it's categorizing the LiDAR against 5 different gradients. So it puts the gradients on Joe, but also it classifies them into 0 to 2 degrees, 2 to 5 degrees, 5 to 7. And I think there's guidance on it as well on our website. So I'm hoping that'll come through in a moment. I can see our CEO is trying to ring me. I'm perhaps meant to be on a call right now, so I might need to round off this webinar. So what I'll do, and sorry I couldn't answer all of these, but yeah, so very quickly, just to read out the questions before I shoot. So LiDAR on the map, Joe, you should have access through to a base map. If I take photos, says James, on the phone app, and they are 400 kilobytes and still have geodata. Yeah, so James, if you take, basically, when you're using the Land App Mobile, it should enable geodata by automatically. And yeah, the size of the photo, that seems quite small, to be honest. So just double check the quality of the photo within the settings. James Coombe, what if someone leaves our organization, but they created the maps? Yeah, so James, if someone leaves an organization and they own the maps, if they're not the administrator, all of that data gets automatically assigned to the administrator. So say Kathy left our organization, I would get all of her maps. If she owns the organization, we can first transfer the ownership of the organization to another account, and then all the data gets centralized onto that individual as well. Question around unlocking master maps. So Joe, yeah, at the moment, everyone can unlock the master map. We're just working out ways to change that, i.e. some permissions, but at the moment it's just one step for people to go, oh, hang on a minute, that map's locked, why is it? Which is a psychological step. But yeah, we're going to work on ways of permissioning who can edit that. And then Scottish data, final question is, we have managed to upload some Scottish data manually. They haven't released a live connection yet, but anyone who wants to download shape files from the RPS system and get them uploaded in a format from Land App, please get in touch with support, because we've now got a little tool that can do it for you. So yeah, we can now upload Scottish data. We just haven't formalized it yet as a release. But if you've got shape files, etc., you can download them. My slope's taking too long to generate, and I'm meant to be on a call now, so I'm going to have to end the webinar. But thank you so much for staying. Please have a read of the guidance. Just search for keywords in the help center, and it should show you a video for slope, for example, Joe. And anything else, please let us know through the chat. We're really here to help. And thank you all for your engagement. It's great to see. Thank you so much.